Taemin wiped the grease from his hands as he walked toward his apartment building. The orbital district of New Seoul floated peacefully above Earth, its artificial gravity making everything feel almost normal. Almost. Through the transparent dome overhead, he could see 3 alien cargo ships docking at the main port. 30 years since first contact, and he still wasn't completely used to it. His body ached from 10 hours at the shipyard. All he wanted was a hot shower and some instant noodles. Maybe he'd watch an old movie before bed. The same routine he'd followed for the past 6 months, ever since his sister Ji-woo left for her research position on Europa. The apartment felt too quiet without her dot as the elevator doors opened on the 15th floor. Taemin noticed someone standing outside his door. Someone tall. Very tall. He slowed his steps, squinting in the hallway light. The figure turned, and he found himself looking up at an alien woman, who stood at least 7 feet tall. Her skin shimmered with a soft blue glow that shifted to purple near her shoulders. She had large eyes that reminded him of Earth's deer, but more expressive, more aware. Her limbs were long and graceful, and she wore what looked like a scholar's robe from one of the cool worlds. A linthery, if he remembered correctly from the integration classes everyone had to take. "You are Taemin?" she asked in accented but clear Korean. Her voice had a musical quality that made the language sound almost like a song. "Yes," he said carefully, his hand moving to the security panel beside his door. "Can I help you?" The woman's skin flickered to a pale green color. Embarrassment, he thought. Or maybe nervousness. "My name is Valera. I am a scholar studying at the Cultural Institute. I apologize for approaching you at your home without warning. I tried to contact you through the building network, but there was no response." Taemin pulled out his datapad and checked. Sure enough, 3 missed messages over the past 2 days. He'd been ignoring most of his notifications lately. "Sorry about that. What do you need?" Valera's skin shifted through several colors before settling on a soft lavender. "I understand you have a spare room in your apartment. I am looking for housing, and I was told you might be willing to rent it." "Who told you that?" Taemin asked, frowning. "A man named Hyun Woo. He works with you at the shipyard. He mentioned you have been alone since your sister departed." Of course it was Hyun Woo. The man couldn't mind his own business if his life depended on it. Taemin sighed and rubbed his tired eyes. "Look, I appreciate you coming here, but I'm not really looking for a roommate right now." The glow in Valera's skin dimmed noticeably. Her large eyes seemed to grow even larger, filled with something that looked uncomfortably like desperation. "Please, I have been searching for 3 months. Every landlord refuses me. They say I am too different, that other tenants would complain, that there might be cultural problems. I have the credits to pay. I would pay double the standard rate." "It's not about the money," Taemin started to say, but Valera interrupted him. "I understand human customs require privacy and personal space. I would respect all boundaries. I would be quiet. I would not disturb you. I simply need a place to live." Her skin had gone almost gray now, the colors muted. "My species does not do well in isolation. We need companionship, even if it is just sharing a living space. The loneliness is becoming difficult." Something in her voice made Taemin pause. He knew that feeling. The empty apartment, the silence, the way time seemed to stretch when you had no one to talk to. He looked at this alien woman who had come to him in desperation, and he saw a reflection of his own loneliness. "1-month trial," he heard himself say. "If it doesn't work out, you have to find somewhere else. And we split the utilities, not double rent. I'm not going to overcharge you." Valera's skin burst into brilliant gold and white patterns. Joy, definitely joy. "Thank you. Thank you so much. I promise you will not regret this. I will be the best tenant you can imagine." The next morning, Taemin woke to the smell of something burning. He rushed to the kitchen to find Valera standing over the stove, looking confused at a pan full of what used to be eggs. Black smoke curled toward the ceiling. "I attempted to prepare a traditional human breakfast," she said, her skin flickering between purple and brown. "I may have miscalculated the temperature requirements." Taemin grabbed the pan and dumped it in the sink. "You don't have to cook. We can just eat our own food." But Hyenwoo said humans bond over shared meals. I wanted to contribute properly. Despite his frustration, Taemin found himself smiling. "Maybe let me do the cooking for now. What do your people eat, anyway?" Over the next week, Taemin learned more about Linthari than he ever expected to know. They were an old species, one of the founding members of the galactic community. They valued knowledge above all else and believed that understanding other species was the key to peace. Valera was one of hundreds of scholars sent to study the newer species joining the Theories galaxy. What made it strange was how fascinated she seemed by everything he did. When he made ramyun for dinner, she took notes on her datapad about the preparation process, the cultural significance of instant noodles in Korean culture, and his personal preference for adding extra spice. When he played music from his old collection of 20th century Korean rock, she asked detailed questions about the emotional expression in human songs. "Do you have to study everything I do?" he asked one evening, slightly annoyed as she recorded him folding laundry. Valera's skin went pale. "I apologize. Is this intrusive? I'm trying to understand human daily life. My research focuses on how humans integrate into their environments and communities. It's just weird being watched all the time," Taemin said, but he softened his tone when he saw her colors dim. "Maybe just ask before you start recording things." "Of course. I will be more mindful." She paused, tilting her head in a very non-human gesture. "May I ask why you listen to such old music?" "There are many contemporary artists." Taemin sat down on the couch, the laundry forgotten. "My father loved this band. He used to play their albums every Sunday morning when Ji-woo and I were kids. After he disappeared on the colony, the music helped me feel connected to him." Valera's skin shifted to a deep, steady blue. Sympathy he was learning to recognize. "I understand. The Linthari keep memory crystals of lost loved ones. The songs serve the same purpose for you." "Something like that," Taemin agreed. That night, as he lay in bed, Taemin realized he'd had an actual conversation with someone for the first time in months. The apartment didn't feel quite so empty anymore. Through the wall, he could hear Valera moving around in her room, and somehow the sound was comforting rather than annoying. Maybe this arrangement wouldn't be so bad after all. The second week brought new challenges that Taemin hadn't anticipated. He woke up at 3 in the morning to find Valera standing in his doorway, her skin pulsing with distressed orange patterns. "I apologize for disturbing you," she said quickly, "but the sound from your room have been quite painful for the past several nights. I did not want to complain, but I cannot sleep." Taemin rubbed his eyes, confused. "What sounds?" "I was asleep. The music device. It continues to play even when you sleep." He looked at his old music player on the nightstand, the one set to play quietly all night. He'd been doing it for years, finding comfort in the soft background noise. "That's barely audible. The volume is almost at 0. Valera's skin flickered. Linthari hearing is much more sensitive than human hearing. What seems quiet to you is quite loud to me. The bass frequencies in particular caused discomfort." Taemin felt embarrassed. Here he'd been annoyed at her for watching him, and he'd been unintentionally torturing her every night. "Why didn't you say something sooner?" "You have been very kind to let me stay here." "I did not want to be difficult." They stayed up another hour working out a solution. Taemin would use headphones at night, and Valera would knock before entering any room, even common areas. They made a list of house rules together, learning that assumptions about normal behavior didn't work across species. Humans need privacy more than Linthari do, Valera explained as she added another item to their shared datapad. We live in family clusters of 20 or more. Being alone in a room feels unnatural to us. And you've been alone here for a week, Taemin said, understanding dawning. That must be hard. It is an adjustment, she admitted. But it is better than being completely isolated. The arrangement was working, more or less. Then Hyan Wu saw them together at the shipyard. Tae-Min had been working on a thruster assembly when Valera appeared at the security gate. She'd messaged him that morning about borrowing his transit pass to visit the library, and he'd told her to just meet him after work to return it. He waved to her from across the yard, not thinking anything of it. But Hyan Wu noticed. And Hyan Wu talked. The next morning, everyone at the shipyard seemed to know that Taemin was living with an alien. Some people congratulated him with knowing smiles that made him uncomfortable. Others suddenly found reasons to avoid him in the break room. His supervisor, a gruff man named Dae-Young, called him into the office. I need to ask you some questions, Dae-Young said, his expression neutral. You're living with a Linthari? She's renting a room from me, Taemin said. Is that a problem? Might be. You're working on classified military contracts. Having an alien living in your home could complicate your security clearance. She's a registered scholar with the Cultural Institute. She has higher security clearance than I do, probably. Dae-Young leaned back in his chair. I'm not saying there's definitely a problem. I'm saying there might be questions. Just be aware of that. Taemin left the office, feeling frustrated. Valera wasn't a spy or a threat. She was just a person trying to do her job and find a place to live. But he could see how others might view it differently. That evening, he found Valera in the living room, her datapad open, her skin cycling through troubled colors. Is something wrong? He asked. I may have created problems for you at your workplace, she said quietly. I did not consider how our living arrangement might be perceived by others. It's fine. People just like to gossip. It is not fine. Human society is still adapting to integration with other species. There are many who distrust aliens, who see us as threats or infiltrators. Her skin went dark blue. I have put you in a difficult position. Taemin sat down across from her. You know what you were doing before you came here? Taking notes on everything like I'm some kind of experiment? That bothered me. Valera's colors dimmed. I understand. I will stop. I'm not finished, Taemin said. It bothered me until I realized why you're doing it. You're not just studying humans for some academic paper. You actually care about understanding us. Of course I care, Valera said. How can anyone expect different species to coexist if we do not try to understand each other? The galaxy is changing. Humanity is new, aggressive, unpredictable to many older species. Some want to limit human expansion. Others want to embrace it. My research is meant to show that humans are worth understanding, worth partnering with. That's a lot of pressure for one person, Taemin said. It is important work. 2 days later, Taemin came home early from the shipyard, feeling terrible. His head pounded, his body ached, and he could barely stand. He made it through the door and collapsed on the couch. Valera found him there 20 minutes later. Her skin immediately flashed bright red. You are injured. What happened? Should I call emergency services? Just the flu, Taemin managed to say. I'll be fine in a few days. Flu? What is flu? Valera's panic was increasing, her skin going through colors he'd never seen before. You need medical attention immediately. Before he could protest, she had lifted him easily in her arms and was carrying him toward the door. For someone so slender, she was incredibly strong. Valera, Put me down. I'm fine. You are clearly not fine. You can barely move. They ended up at the medical center, where a tired doctor named Hana examined Taemin and confirmed it was just a common flu virus. Rest, fluids, and he'll be fine in a week, she told Valera. Humans get these minor illnesses all the time. Valera's skin had slowly returned to normal colors, though she still looked shaken. All the time? And this is not dangerous? Not usually, no. Your species doesn't get sick like this. Linthari have very strong immune systems. When we do get sick, it is usually fatal. I thought... She looked at Taemin with something like guilt. I thought you were dying. Back at the apartment, Valera insisted on helping him to bed. She brought him water and the medicine Dr. Hana had prescribed. She checked on him every hour, her concern obvious in her shifting colors. You don't have to do all this, Taemin said. I've had the flu before. I know how to handle it. You helped me when I had nowhere to go, Valera said. You have been patient with my mistakes. Let me help you now. Over the next few days, Valera took care of him with determined efficiency. She learned to make simple soup from video tutorials. She kept the apartment quiet. She even figured out which of his old movies he liked best and queued them up for him. On the third day, when Taemin was feeling well enough to sit up properly, he said, "Thank you for this. For caring." You are my friend, Valera said simply. This is what friends do, yes? Taemin smiled. Yeah, that's exactly what friends do. That evening, a message came through from Ji-woo. His sister was coming to visit in 2 weeks. She wanted to check on him and see the apartment. Taemin felt a knot form in his stomach. Ji-woo had strong opinions about aliens, none of them particularly positive. Valera noticed his expression. Bad news? My sister is coming to visit. She's going to have questions about you. I can stay elsewhere while she visits, Valera offered. I do not wish to cause family conflict. Taemin thought about it for a moment, then shook his head. No, you live here too. This is your home as much as mine. If Ji-woo has a problem with that, we'll deal with it. Valera's skin glowed warm gold. Thank you. That means more than you know. Ji-woo arrived on a Tuesday afternoon with 2 large bags and a suspicious expression. She stood in the doorway of the apartment, her eyes immediately finding Valera, who had risen from the couch with her skin flickering nervous purple. So you're the alien living with my brother, Ji-woo said. Not a question. A statement. I am Valera. It is an honor to meet Taemin's sister. I'm sure it is. Ji-woo walked past her without shaking the offered hand and dropped her bags in the living room. Taemin, can we talk? Alone? In his bedroom, Ji-woo didn't waste time. What are you thinking? You barely know her. She could be using you. Using me for what? A spare bedroom? For her research. For information? You work on military contracts, Taemin. Have you thought about that? She's a cultural scholar, not a spy. Ji-woo crossed her arms. You don't know that. You can't know that. These aliens, they're not like us. They don't think like us. Taemin felt his temper rising. You're a xenobiologist. You study aliens for a living. How can you be so prejudiced? I study them because I know how dangerous they can be, Ji-woo shot back. I see what they're capable of. And I see my brother being naive. The argument went in circles for another 10 minutes before Taemin walked out, frustrated. He found Valera in her room, her skin a muted gray. She'd clearly heard everything through the thin walls. I am sorry, Valera said. I am causing problems between you and your sister. You're not causing anything. Ji-woo is just being overprotective. Perhaps I should explain my research to her? If she understood what I am trying to accomplish, she might be less concerned. But when Valera tried to talk to Ji-woo, It only made things worse. Ji-woo peppered her with questions that felt more like interrogation than conversation. Who was funding her research? What would happen to the data she collected? Did the Linthari government have access to it? Valera answered everything calmly and honestly, but Ji-woo remained unconvinced. You say you're studying human culture, but why? What does your government want with this information? The Linthari Collective is debating our future relationship with humanity. There are many among my people who fear humans. They see your history of violence, your rapid expansion, your unpredictability. They want to maintain distance, perhaps even limit human access to certain parts of the galaxy. So you're spying on us to help your government control us, Ji-woo said. Valera's skin flashed sharp orange. Anger, Taemin realized. He'd never seen her angry before. No, I'm trying to show them that humans are worth knowing. That you are more than your violent past. That cooperation is possible and beneficial. By living with my brother and taking notes on his daily life. By learning how humans form bonds. How you create communities. How you adapt and survive and thrive despite challenges. Valera's voice grew stronger. The Linthari have been spacefaring for 10,000 years. We have protocols and procedures for everything. We are efficient and organized and completely set in our ways. Then humanity arrives, breaking half the rules we considered universal, succeeding in situations where you should fail, forming alliances with species we thought incompatible. You are chaos to us, and chaos is frightening. The room went quiet. Taemin saw something shift in Ji-woo's expression, but she wasn't ready to back down yet. And what happens when you go home and tell them we're not so scary? They welcome us with open arms? I do not know, Valera admitted. But I believe understanding is better than fear, always. That evening, Taemin decided to cook a proper Korean meal. Not instant ramen or simple soup, but the kind of food his father used to make on special occasions. Bulgogi, kimchi, rice, and several side dishes. He worked in the kitchen for 2 hours, and Valera helped despite her terrible cooking skills. Just cut the vegetables, Taemin told her. Try not to burn anything this time. I only burned things once, Valera protested. Her skin showing amused pink patterns. Once is enough. Ji-woo watched them work together, seeing how they moved around each other easily. How Taemin handed Valera ingredients without looking. How she anticipated what he needed. Little things that showed comfort and familiarity. When they finally sat down to eat, Taemin said, Dad used to make this when something important was happening. When I graduated. When Ji-woo got into the xenobiology program. When we needed to remember we're family. Ji-woo picked up her chopsticks slowly. Why are you making it now? Because I want you both to understand something. Valera is living here, and that's not going to change because it makes you uncomfortable. But you're my sister, and that's not going to change either. So we need to figure this out. They ate in silence for a while. Then Ji-woo asked Valera, What happened to your family? You said Linthari live in large groups. Why are you here alone? Valera's colors dimmed. My family cluster did not approve of my research. They believe I am wasting my time studying a species that will only bring trouble to the galaxy. When I refused to abandon the project, they formally severed ties with me. In Linthari culture, this is a serious matter. I am effectively an outcast. So you're risking everything for this research, Ji-woo said. Yes, because I believe it matters. Because I think humans have something valuable to teach the rest of the galaxy, even if I cannot yet fully explain what that is. Ji-woo was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, Our father disappeared 5 years ago on a colony world. There was a dispute between human settlers and the native species. The situation got violent. Dad was trying to mediate, trying to get everyone to talk instead of fight. He went to a meeting, and he never came back. No body was ever found. Taman stared at his sister. She never talked about this. Never. They blamed the aliens, Jiwoo continued. Said they killed the human mediators to prevent peace. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. We don't know. But I've been angry ever since. Angry at all of them. I am deeply sorry for your loss, Valera said softly. The thing is, Jiwoo said, her voice shaking slightly, Dad would have hated seeing me like this. He spent his whole life building bridges between species. And here I am, burning them down because I'm scared and angry. She looked up at Valera. I don't trust you yet. I might never completely trust you. But I can see that you're trying to do what my father tried to do. And I can see that you care about my brother. So I'm going to try to be less of a jerk about this. Valera's skin glowed soft blue. That is all I ask. A chance to prove myself worthy of trust. The rest of Jiwoo's visit went more smoothly. She and Valera had long conversations about xenobiology and cultural differences. Jiwoo even laughed when Valera tried to cook again and somehow managed to burn water on Jiwoo's last evening. She pulled Taemin aside. I checked with some contacts in the xenobiological community. There's been a series of attacks on mixed-species households in this district. Human-alien couples or roommates being targeted by extremist groups. What kind of attacks? Vandalism, threats, a few assaults. The authorities are investigating, but they haven't caught anyone yet. You need to be careful. Taemin felt cold. Are we in danger? Maybe. Probably. These terra-first idiots are getting bolder. She gripped his shoulder. I still think you're crazy for doing this. But I respect it. Dad would have respected it too. Just watch your back, okay? After Jiwoo left, Taemin told Valera about the attacks. Her skin went pale. Perhaps I should leave. I do not want to put you at risk. Don't be stupid, Taemin said. We're not letting some extremists dictate how we live. Besides, you said it yourself. Understanding is better than fear. Running away won't help anything. You are very brave, Valera said. I'm not brave. I'm just tired of being alone. And you're my friend. Friends stick together, right? Right, Valera agreed, her skin warming to gentle gold. The vandalism started small. Someone spray-painted words on their apartment door. Ugly words about aliens and traitors. Building security cleaned it off, but 2 days later it happened again. Then someone left a threatening message on Taemin's datapad. Anonymous, untraceable, promising that collaborators will face justice. At the shipyard, things got worse. Taemin's workstation was sabotaged. Someone had corrupted the files for a project he'd been working on for weeks. They launched an investigation, but the damage was done. Taemin had to start over, working overtime to meet his deadlines. Hyun-woo pulled him aside during lunch. There's talk going around. Terra First has been recruiting at some of the bars near the shipyard. They're showing videos of alien ships, talking about how we're losing our identity. How humans are being pushed out of their own systems. That's ridiculous, Taemin said. Earth is more prosperous now than it's been in centuries. I know that. You know that. But scared people don't think straight. And there are a lot of scared people out there. Hyun-woo looked worried. Just be careful, okay? Maybe keep a lower profile for a while. But Valera's situation was getting worse too. She received a message from the Linthari Collective demanding she return home immediately. Her research was deemed unnecessarily provocative and potentially harmful to diplomatic relations. If she refused, she would be declared rogue. Cut off from all collective resources and protection. Tae-min found her sitting in the dark living room, her skin barely glowing. They are giving me 1 week to decide, she said. Return home and abandon my work, or lose everything. What do you want to do? I do not know. My research is incomplete. I have learned much about human daily life, about how you form individual bonds. But I have not yet found the key insight, the thing that makes humans truly special. Without that, my work proves nothing. Maybe there isn't anything special, Taemin said. Maybe we're just people trying to get by, same as anyone else. Valera's skin flickered. No, there is something. I can feel it, but I cannot define it yet. The way humans connect across differences, the way you build communities from strangers, the way you fight for people you have chosen to care about. It is unusual in the galaxy. Unique, perhaps. The next day, Taemin made a decision. He called a meeting at their residential building, inviting everyone who lived there. Humans and aliens both. Hyunwoo thought he was crazy. Even Valera seemed uncertain. What are you hoping to accomplish? She asked. You said you need to understand how humans build communities. So let's build one. Let's show everyone that cooperation works. The community room was half full when they arrived. About 30 people, a mix of species. Some Taemin recognized from his building. Others were strangers. A few looked suspicious, but most just seemed curious. Taemin stood at the front of the room, suddenly nervous. He'd never been good at public speaking. Thanks for coming. I know this seems random, but I wanted to bring everyone together to talk about what's been happening in our district. The vandalism, the threats, the fear. A human woman in the back spoke up. You mean the attacks on people who live with aliens? Yeah, those. I'm one of the people being targeted. My roommate Valera is Linthari, and apparently that makes some people angry. An older Korean man stood. You are the one who works at the shipyard. I live 3 floors below you. I have seen the messages on your door. Disgusting. Others chimed in. A Kormathi merchant talked about how someone had broken his shop window. A human mother mentioned her daughter was being bullied at school for having an alien tutor. The stories piled up, each one adding to the picture of systematic harassment. So what do we do about it? Someone asked. Tae-min looked at Valera, who nodded encouragingly. We stick together. We show Tara first and anyone else who wants to divide us that we're stronger as a community. We look out for each other. Humans and aliens both. That is a nice sentiment, the Kormathi merchant said. But nice sentiments do not stop fanatics. No, but community does. My father used to say that fear grows in isolation. When people only talk to others like themselves, it's easy to see outsiders as enemies. But when you actually know your neighbors, when you share meals and help each other and build something together, fear has a harder time taking root. A younger woman raised her hand. How do we do that, practically? They spent the next hour discussing ideas. A neighborhood watch where humans and aliens patrolled together. Regular community meals where people could share their cultures. A support network for reporting harassment and helping victims. Simple things, but things that require people to actually talk to each other. By the end, Taemin felt hopeful. Maybe this could actually work. Maybe they could build something real. Then the lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in red. Through the windows, Taemin could see masked figures outside. At least a dozen of them, carrying signs and weapons. Tara first had found them. Lock the doors, someone shouted. The community room had reinforced walls, built to serve as a shelter in case of pressure emergencies. They were safe inside, at least for now. But the extremists were pounding on the doors, shouting threats. Come out, traitors! Face justice for betraying your species. A child started crying. Her mother, a human woman, held her close while a Kormathi man she'd been talking to earlier moved to shield them both. Without thinking about it, the humans and aliens in the room positioned themselves protectively around the vulnerable. Valera's skin had gone bright red with alarm. We should call the authorities. Already did, Hyunwoo said, holding up his datapad. They're on the way. but it will take 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Tamian looked around the room. 30 people, maybe a third of them physically capable of fighting if it came to that. The extremists outnumbered them, and they had weapons. Then one of the windows cracked. Not broke, but cracked. The reinforced glass could take a lot of punishment, but not forever. The crowd outside was using something heavy as a battering ram. "We need to barricade that window," Tamian said. Everyone moved at once. Tables, chairs, anything heavy got piled against the threatened window. Humans and aliens worked together, no one giving orders, everyone just doing what needed to be done. The Cormathy merchant used his species of superior strength to move a heavy storage cabinet. 2 human men climbed on top to brace it. A Linthari woman used her height to secure the top. The battering continued. The glass cracked further, but the barricade held. Then Valera screamed. Tamian spun to see part of the ceiling collapsing. The extremists had climbed on top of the building and were trying to break through from above. A support beam was giving way, about to crush a group of people huddled underneath. Valera didn't hesitate. She ran forward and caught the beam with her long arms, her skin flashing brilliant white with effort. The beam was massive, easily half a ton of metal and composite. She shouldn't have been able to hold it, but she did. "Get them out," she shouted. "I cannot hold this long." Tamian rushed forward, pulling people out from under the collapsing ceiling. A Cormathy child. An elderly human couple. A young alien he didn't recognize. One by one, he dragged them to safety while Valera held the beam. Her skin cycling through colors of pain and strain. High on Wu, and others grabbed emergency support poles from the storage area, jamming them under the beam to take the weight. Only then did Valera let go, collapsing to her knees. Tamian ran to her. "Are you okay?" "I may have damaged my arms," she said weakly, "but everyone is safe. That is what matters." Outside, sirens wailed. The authorities had arrived. The pounding on the doors stopped as the extremists fled. It was over. In the aftermath, as medics treated Valera's strained muscles and the minor injuries others had sustained, something had changed. The humans and aliens who'd been strangers an hour ago were now clustered together, talking quietly, exchanging contact information, promising to check on each other. The elderly human man Tamian had pulled from under the beam came over. "Thank you. Thank you. And thank your friend. She saved my life. My wife's life." "She's not just my friend," Tamian said, surprising himself. "She's family." Valera heard him. Her skin glowed warm gold despite her pain. "As you are mine." The attack made galactic news within hours. Someone had recorded everything on their datapad. The footage showed humans and aliens protecting each other. It showed Valera holding the collapsing beam while Tamian pulled people to safety. It showed a community refusing to be divided even in the face of violence. Within days, the video had millions of views across dozens of worlds. News programs analyzed it. Politicians referenced it. Social networks exploded with commentary. The attack that was meant to intimidate had instead become a symbol of cooperation. Valera spent 3 days in the medical center recovering from her injuries. Her arms were severely strained, and the doctor said she was lucky she hadn't done permanent damage. Linthari bodies were strong, but not designed for that kind of extreme stress. Tay-men visited her every day. On the 3rd day, he found Jiwoo already there, sitting beside Valera's bed and having an intense discussion about xenobiology. "Your sister is brilliant," Valera said when she noticed Tamian. "She has been explaining how human and Linthari muscular systems could theoretically be enhanced through careful genetic therapy. I was also explaining that you're an idiot for trying to hold up a building," Jiwoo added, but her tone was warm. "A heroic idiot, but still an idiot." When Jiwoo left to get coffee, Valera said quietly, "I have been writing my final research report. The attack helped me understand what I was missing." "What do you mean?" "I spent months observing how humans form individual bonds. I documented your customs, your communication patterns, your emotional expressions. But I was looking at it wrong. The important thing is not how humans form bonds. It is who you choose to bond with." Taemin pulled up a chair. "I'm not following." Valera's skin rippled with thoughtful colors. "Most species in the galaxy form strong bonds within their genetic or cultural groups. Linthari live in family clusters. Cormathi organized by trade guilds. The Terran have clan structures. We bond with our own kind, and we are suspicious of outsiders. It is natural. It is safe. But humans are different? Humans are radically different. You form families from strangers. You adopt children who share no genetic connection. You marry across cultural lines. You befriend aliens you have known for mere months. Her skin glowed. You choose connection over safety. You risk rejection, betrayal, heartbreak, because the possibility of genuine connection matters more to you than the certainty of isolation." Taemin thought about that. About how he'd let Valera into his home despite barely knowing her. About how she'd become one of the most important people in his life in just a few months. About all the people in that community room who decided to trust each other. "When the ceiling was collapsing," Valera continued, "I did not think about whether the people underneath were human, or Linthari, or Cormathi. I just knew they were my community, and I had to protect them. That is what humans taught me. That is your gift to the galaxy." Her datapad beeped. She checked it, and her skin went very pale. "The Linthari Collective has made their decision. They reviewed my research and the footage from the attack, and they voted to pursue a formal alliance with humanity. My work has been validated, and I am being recalled to present it to the full collective council." Taemin should have been happy for her. This was what she'd been working toward. But all he felt was sadness. "When do you have to leave?" "As soon as I am medically cleared for travel." She looked at him, her large eyes reflecting the room's light. "But I do not want to go. Not permanently." "What do you mean?" "The collective has offered me a choice. I can return to Linthar as a celebrated scholar and live in comfort. Or I can accept a diplomatic position as a cultural liaison between our species. The position would be based on Earth, on New Sol, specifically." Hope flickered in Taemin's chest. "You'd stay here? If you would still have me as a roommate. I know the apartment is small, and I am not the easiest person to live with, and I still cannot cook without burning things, but—" "Yes," Taemin interrupted. "Obviously, yes." Valera's skin burst into brilliant gold patterns. "I will need to travel frequently for diplomatic work. But Earth would be my home base. Your apartment would be my home." "Our apartment," Taemin corrected. The next week brought more changes. The authorities arrested most of the Terra First extremists who'd attacked the community center. The evidence was overwhelming, and the public outcry was enormous. Several political leaders who'd been quietly supporting anti-alien sentiments suddenly found themselves on the defensive dock at the shipyard. Dae-young called Taemin into his office again. "The military is starting a new joint engineering program with the Linthari. They want people who understand how to work across species. I recommended you for the project lead, but you were worried about my security clearance. That was before you became famous for saving people during an extremist attack. Now you're a symbol of human-alien cooperation. The brass loves symbols." Dae-young smiled slightly. "Besides, you did good work on those thruster assemblies. Don't let it go to your head." Hyun-woo threw a celebration dinner at his apartment. He invited everyone from the community center, plus half the shipyard, plus several of Valera's colleagues from the Cultural Institute. The apartment was packed with humans and aliens sharing food and stories. Ji Woo attended with her colleague Sella, the Kormathi scientist she'd mentioned. They spent most of the evening in deep discussion about their research. Taemin noticed they stood close together, their body language suggesting more than just professional interest. "Is your sister courting the Kormathi?" Valera asked quietly. "I think maybe she is." "Is that weird?" "By human standards or Linthari standards?" "Because by Linthari standards, everything humans do is weird." She paused. "But also wonderful. You are also very weird and wonderful." Later, when most of the guests had left, Taemin found himself on the balcony with Valera, looking out at the orbital district lights. Ships came and went from the docks, carrying people and goods between worlds. The galaxy seemed both vast and small at the same time. "I have been thinking about what you said," Taemin told her. "About humans choosing connection over safety. I don't think we're unique in that. You chose to come here. You chose to keep researching even when your family rejected you. You chose to hold that beam even though it could have killed you. Perhaps humans are contagious," Valera suggested. "Perhaps your way of forming bonds spreads to those who spend time with you. Or perhaps everyone has the capacity for it. They just need the right circumstances to bring it out." Valera's skin glowed soft blue. "That is a very human thing to say. Optimistic and idealistic, and probably true." Months passed. The apartment became a gathering place for their growing circle of friends. The community they'd started that night in the center continued to meet regularly. Some people organized language exchange programs. Others started cultural festivals. Small acts of connection that built into something larger. Valera traveled frequently for her diplomatic work, but she always came back. Every time, Taemin would find her standing in the doorway with her bags, her skin glowing happy colors, saying, "I am home." And every time, Taemin would help her with her luggage and ask about her trip and feel grateful that she'd knocked on his door that first day. One evening, as they sat watching an old movie together, Valera said, "I have been writing a supplementary report about my time here. May I read you the conclusion?" "Sure." She pulled up her datapad and read aloud. "Humanity's greatest strength is not their technology or their adaptability or their aggression. It is their refusal to accept isolation as inevitable. They reach across every divide, genetic, cultural, ideological, to build connections. They choose to care about beings who share nothing with them except proximity and willingness. They create families from strangers and communities from chaos. This is not weakness. This is not naivety. This is the future of the galaxy." Taemin was quiet for a moment. "That's good. But you know what? I think you've got it a little wrong." Valera's skin flickered with surprise. "How so?" "It's not just humans. You did the same thing. You reached across the divide. You chose connection with a stranger. You built a family from nothing. Maybe what you're describing isn't human nature. Maybe it's just what happens when anyone is brave enough to try." "You may be right," Valera said thoughtfully. "Perhaps humans are simply more willing to take that first step. And perhaps, once others see it can be done, they become willing as well. See? You're not studying us. You're joining us. Big difference." Valera's skin glowed with warm gold. "I suppose I am. And I find I do not mind at all." Years later, when people asked how the Human Linthari Alliance began, they usually referenced the treaties and political agreements. But those who were there, who lived through those early days, knew the truth. It started with a lonely engineer who said yes to a desperate scholar. It started with two people choosing to share a home and build a friendship across impossible differences. It started small. But the best things usually do. On the wall of their apartment, now expanded to include the unit next door, hung a photo from that community center night. Valera holding the beam, her skin blazing white with effort. Taemin pulling people to safety. Humans and aliens working together against the collapsing ceiling. Underneath, in Valera's careful handwriting, was a simple phrase in both Korean and Linthari script.